Hey, what's happening, guys? It is Tuesday Night Fever, and you know what that means here in healthcare digital marketing. We go deep on the best marketing topics and online business topics in healthcare. I'm Dr. Alex Sangar. I'm a physical therapist, and I help people like you create online income. I help people find you online, and then I help you figure out how do you take that community that you've built and actually create a business out of it. And I'm super stoked about tonight because we're going to be diving into a question that we've been getting asked a lot. And someone in the group actually requested that we dive deep into this. And I want to make sure that we actually answer some questions tonight about the real finances of an online business. Will and I have been at this now for about a year and a half and had no clue what we were doing when we started a business. We were just like, hey, that would be really fun to do an online business. Heck, we didn't even know that we would create a business. We just thought we'd start sharing marketing tips online. And that blossomed into realizing that there was this need to help people online. We learned how to grow an engaged community. We learned how to figure out what products they wanted, what problems they wanted solved. We created those and started having income, which is amazing. And then it was really interesting because as we started having income, we started taking it seriously. And we were like, oh, dang, this could be a business. Like, this could be our thing. And we started realizing, well, shoot, if this is our business, like maybe we should kind of figure out how to run a business. And so we did. We're still figuring that out, by the way. But one of the big things that we learned, almost learned the hard way, is that you can't fool around with finances. You have to understand going into it what all is expected of you as a business owner. And things are a little bit different online than brick and mortar. I obviously am not a brick and mortar practice owner, but now being a year and a half into a multi-six-figure business, I've learned a thing or two about finances. And I want to share tonight how we pay ourselves, how we deal with taxes, how you know what to charge in your business. I want to kind of reinforce the value of building an online business for you. And then I want to talk a little bit about my favorite tax write-off. And if you're on here live tonight, just comment live. I see a bunch of you jumping on here. Paulson, good to see you on here, man. Yeah, it is during tax season. I just finished taxes last week, I guess last Monday, right? Was actual tax day. I actually filed an extension on my taxes because I had one final LLC that I had to get set up or finish doing the taxes for. But my goodness, I have been learning so much about taxes for the past 6 months-ish. Learned all the new tax code, figured out how to run my own taxes as a business owner from scratch. I created my own TurboTax on Google Sheets. And it was bad, you guys. But I knew that I needed to understand it. So I want to teach you what I've learned about it. Now, I am not a CPA. I am not a tax professional. But I am an online business owner who's in the trenches doing this stuff, a lot of it on our own. Now we finally hire someone to do a lot of the kind of day-to-day CPA type stuff. But I want to dive into this. As you've got questions, feel free to drop them below. It's been really interesting. When I first got into this, I thought that I was very much alone in wanting to run an online business as a physical therapist. In fact, I felt so alienated from the profession because it just wasn't a thing. Right? It's not something that unless you come online, you don't know that other people actually want to do this. And so while I was in PT school and started learning that other people had online businesses outside of healthcare, started thinking, oh, gosh, that would be amazing to have an online business. I started learning about passive income. I started learning about marketing, figuring out how to grow an audience. And it was like, I really think I want to do this. But then I started seeing that, oh man, other PTs aren't doing this. It's going to be looked down on. And I actually felt guilty because I felt like I was turning my back on the profession by wanting to create something online because I didn't want to do things the traditional way. I didn't want to have a clinical job from 9 to 5 every day. And I actually felt a lot of guilt around that. And so I didn't tell anyone really. To be honest, I told no one early on. I wasn't even comfortable talking to my wife about it. I wasn't comfortable talking to friends, classmates. There was one person, Cameron Garber, who I really started opening up to about this because he got it. He understood it. He wanted to do it as well. And I got my first glimpse of the fact that you could run an online business. So now that I caught the vision of it, we fast forward and we had our very first product launch. And we talked about this in our training. We did a live training on Wednesday night of last week about how to start an online business from scratch. And we're putting a recap together of it, by the way. If you want that recap, just comment recap below and I'll send it over to you as soon as Will and I get it up. We're doing kind of a short and sweet version of it. And then we offered for people to work with us one-on-one to help them grow their online businesses, because we know there's so many PTs now that want to do that, which is just so freaking cool. I get so excited about that. But we had our very first launch, and we made something like $10,000, and it blew our minds. And then we kind of figured things out. And a few months later, we had another bigger launch that was about 4 times that. And then we had another launch that was like double that. And all of a sudden, it's like, holy crap, we have like income coming in. What do we do with it? And that's when I really started to face the fact that I probably should pay taxes. And I don't know if you've ever had a moment where you felt like life is amazing, and then it kind of came back and hit you in the face. Well, this was one of those moments. And when I started looking into it, I thought, oh crap, what do I do? How much do I have to pay in taxes? So this is the very first question that I want to answer is, how much do we pay in taxes? And as an online business owner, it's really awesome because there's not a lot of overhead, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But here's how we do it. And this is not, again, I'm not a CPA. This is like finances according to Alex. What we have done is we've set aside 15.3% of everything that we've earned. Because when we got to that point where we had all these awesome launches and we were just sort of like saying, oh, we'll set aside like 20% for the rest of the business. Then we realized like, oh, maybe that's not enough to cover business expenses and taxes, and it wasn't. So now we set aside 15.3% of every penny that we make. We pay that to taxes. And we just set it aside. Now there's quarterly taxes, all that jazz. We won't get into that. In our first year in business, we didn't have to worry about it anyway, since we hadn't had income the previous year. But now we paid a big old chunk of change in taxes last week. And it was really fun because I got to pay it on a card that had credit card rewards. By the way, you can pay business taxes on a credit card and get all the rewards from that. So you can get, if you do it smartly, you guys, you can get like 20% back or even more in rewards. And you only pay 1.85% fee to put it on a credit card. How freaking cool is that? So leverage business credit cards. But 15.3% has been what we have ended up taking away. Now, it's probably going to be a little bit different for every business based on their write-offs. But that's the next thing that I want to talk about. By the way, Cameron Dennis, he came on and said, hi, what's happening, Cameron? Good to see you on here, man. Kristen wants the recap. Christian wants the recap. John says, hi. Paulson, thanks for coming on. Jordan, thank you, dude. Yeah, man. Like, we're so full of hacks like that. Which, by the way, like after a year and a half and really 2 years of building a business, we've come up with a lot of little hacks. Things that like we learned the hard way or figured out along the way. It's stuff that we share with people in our one-on-one coaching. So again, if you want to like get some help with this stuff and want some of this stuff that could save you thousands of dollars, like hit us up. Okay. We're serious about this. Jordan will send you the recap, brother. Can't wait to get on the phone with you tomorrow, Thursday, I think it is. So pay taxes with a credit card. I can tell you my favorite business credit cards. You do have to be a little careful with it. You have to know what you're doing, but come talk to us. And 15.3% for taxes. By the way, I want to show you my favorite book. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. It's called Profit First. In terms of understanding finances as a business owner, if this is your first time doing it and you have no clue what you're doing, follow this book. It's by Mike Michalowicz, Profit First. Go buy it. He has you split it up into kind of a Dave Ramsey system where you like portion out each month what you owe, how much you make. So I have a spreadsheet that we just track all that on. Cool. Todd, good to see you. Daryl as well. This question we just get a ton, so I wanted to answer this. How much do you pay yourself? Can I just be really honest for a minute? From the time I was young, I have thought it was really weird that people had a stigma around talking about money. Like I remember talking to my parents about how much money they made, and they like wouldn't talk to me about it. And not to dig on my parents, it's just I think that that's sort of a common thing of like to have that stigma around it. And then later on as I got older, like we talked about it, but it's just really weird to me that that's a thing. And so from the very beginning of my like understanding about money, I just had this idea of like, well, why don't we just talk about it instead of like dance our way around it? And I don't want to talk about how much I make or didn't make. I can tell you exactly how much I made in PT school, which is not very much. I had no job. I worked for Spikeball, actually. I shouldn't say that. I was one of Spikeball's. I was like one of their top reps because I just go out and play Spikeball during class and sell people sets. So I did make a couple grand there, but I didn't have like a real job. So I was very much used to making zero. And then when we moved into this whole online business thing, you might think that we just made a ton of money overnight. Well, we didn't. When we had the $10,000 launch, that was great. That was like legitimately great. I have to go back and look at what we actually took from that. It was a few $1,000s. But then all of last year, like, Will, I hope you're okay with me talking about this. Maybe I should talk to my business partner before I just talk about this. But we really care about transparency with everyone. And as a business, we brought in like about $150,000, $150,000, and spent a lot. Spent like 60 grand, or had about that much that we could write off, maybe a little bit more, and ended up paying ourselves like 30 something thousand, like 37,000 last year. So I want to tell you this, that when somebody looks like they're absolutely killing it online, there's a lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes. So while yes, we were like killing it, and like I loved that I was making that much. That's the most I've ever made in the year. Okay. It also came with a lot of struggles of like, hey, it's hard to make money online. It's hard to make money, period, as a business owner. And we were actually really proud of the fact that we broke past that 6-figure mark within the first year. Totally blew my mind. But I also want you to understand that running a business has its costs. And I'll tell you the biggest cost that we've incurred as a business is business coaching. But I want to tell you why that is my favorite business cost, because it's a write-off, and it's something that actually exponentially pays itself back. So when you talk about ROIs, when you talk about investing in yourself, I just really want to vouch here for just a minute. We've paid multiple different coaches lots of money, and it's been the best thing that we've done. Like in terms of being able to produce an ROI out of that, I was having a talk with Will Butler a couple months ago, and I was expressing, this was like 8 months ago, and I was expressing the angst of like, dude, I'm not putting anything away for retirement right now personally from our business because we were just getting going. And he said, well, aren't you putting money back into the business? I said, well, yeah. It's like, well, isn't that an investment that's going to pay off? It's like, well, yeah. And as we started making money, it was like, well, isn't that probably the very best investment you could make in terms of an ROI standpoint? Because if I were in the stock market, getting 10% back would be like sweet. Like that would be amazing. And if I were in real estate, like getting 20% would be amazing. But I put it into my business, I get business coaching, and the amount that we spent last year on business coaching, like probably 10x itself. So isn't that a better use of it? So I had beat myself up a lot last year because I wasn't putting a ton away into retirement. Now we've started doing a little bit more of that lately as we've been able to have a little bit more income, but we still really don't have our crap together. We'll figure that out this year. And when I do figure it out, I'll tell you. But that has honestly been like, that's our investment into our future, is that we paid other people to help us build the business and get it forward. So I will be very honest. When someone comes to me and they say like, guys, I don't have the finances right now. I get it. I totally get it, because I've been there when we first started coaching, like paying for coaching. I was paying out of pocket for it. The business couldn't afford it, and it was tight. It was. But I also knew that I was going to work my freaking butt off so that I could pay that off. And I knew that I had just dropped 60 grand on a PT degree that I wasn't really using. Don't tell anyone. But I had just dropped 60 grand on that. And I was like, no biggie. Yeah, like I'll drop 60 grand on that. That's fine. Like I'm sure it'll pay off. Why was it any different with business coaching? And when I realized that, it was like, okay, and I'm really not here to tell you, like, I'm not here to sell you on something, but I'm here to tell you my experience. As a business owner who has no clue what I'm doing, I have fast-tracked we have fast-tracked our success by paying other people to help us get the knowledge, application, and mostly confidence in ourselves to do the thing that we previously didn't know how to do. That's what coaching has done for us. So as you're sitting there thinking about, I don't know if I can afford it, just know that it can be a really dang good investment for you in whoever you end up going with. Obviously, you got to vet the person out, but it's a business write-off that at the end of the year, when I was sitting there like calculating taxes, it was so awesome to sit there and take that literally right off the top of what we had made. And guess what? That ends up being like a 30% discount on what you end up paying for, just because of how taxes work out. And so now mentally, when I sit here and think about, okay, if I'm going to pay someone 10 grand for something, well, yes, it's going to cost me out of pocket 10 grand. But then because it reduces my income earned on my tax bill, ultimately it's about 30% cheaper than that. So it's really out of pocket only about $6,600. So I just want you to think about that as you're going through the whole business experience. Really track business expenses. And so I just want to talk for a second. This is the next thing. What can I write off? We get people who ask us, can I write off coaching? Or can I write off X? Can I write off Y? If it's directly related to business, coaching, or I'll just say coaching is a write-offable thing. It has been for us. Consult your CPA. But people have been asking us that, and I thought it was a given. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. People don't know that. Yeah, you could totally write that off. You can write off a home office. You can write off in a lot of places. You can write off a car. You can write off a computer. You can write off a portion of your cell phone bill. You can write off a portion of your internet. You can write off travel expenses, of course. You can write off food expenses for when you travel, like everything that we do. So we're going to SSPT Live in a month. Everything is write-offable. My plane ticket out there, our hotel room, every piece of food that I buy, it's all write-offable. And so you better believe that you're every time you spend, yes, it sucks because you're spending money, but it's also a write-off. And I'm not here to tell you like, oh, you should make money by writing things off. No, but I am telling you that you should make sure and track that crap so that as you're creating the money, like it's not just flowing out, right? You create the money, but also track the expenses so that knocks that down and you don't have to pay as much in taxes. And then you pay your taxes off on a credit card, so you get a bunch of points back, and then you reduce your tax bill. Okay, so number one, how much do you pay yourself? That's how much we paid ourselves last year. This year, we have almost already paid ourselves that. We're getting close to it. I know we've at least gotten over the halfway point of what we paid ourselves all of last year, which is pretty exciting. We end up paying ourselves about 25% of our total income right now. That's our average for the year. We had a really big coaching expense at the beginning of the year. We bought some $10,000 coaching, made the ROI back in a month, less than a month. But because we paid for a bunch of coaching, we didn't pay ourselves as much, right? We actually, what we did is we had saved all this money for taxes. We took a loan out from that tax fund and went through the program, applied it to our business, got the ROI, and paid off that tax fund at like 20% of our income. So 20% of what we made went right back to that tax fund until we paid off that loan from ourselves. It was amazing. It was beautiful. Like to be able to pay for that out of pocket and say, oh yeah, we got the money sitting here. Well, we're our own bank at this point. A year and a half into our business, that was amazing. And I just want you to know, like, you can create this kind of stuff for yourself. You really can, if you want to. So how much do we pay ourselves? Realistically, we're taking home about 25% each of what we make total. 15% goes to taxes, 5% goes to profit for the business, and then we can pay ourselves out of that if we want to, or save up for travel stuff. And then we're realistically dropping like, I don't know, between 3 and 4K a month in expenses. Biggest one is business coaching. Software, ClickFunnels, costs money, although it pays for itself through affiliate commissions. So like that's how much we spend at this point. And the cool thing is that now that we're at that level, just kind of cruising, it does not really cost us much of anything more to scale from there until we start looking at advertising, right? Like we're at a point where pretty much every month we're between 3,000 and 4,000 in terms of expenses. But that covers everything, right? We obviously don't have rent to cover, which is nice. And that doesn't cover some things like cell phones and stuff, but I don't know. Again, biggest stuff is business expense, is coaching. We give really good affiliate commissions too when people refer others to us. And so that's actually been a pretty big portion of our expenses. But again, it's all write-offable. So super awesome. Cameron Dennis, I will get you the recap, brother. Guys, thanks for coming on here. By the way, is this helpful so far? If this is helpful and you're liking this, just comment helpful below so that I know. There's a lot of lurkers on here. I'm just flying through stuff. So I want to know if you feel like this is useful. Just drop helpful below. And if you've got questions about finances, please drop them below too. All right. So how much do you pay yourself? We covered that. How much do you pay in taxes? We covered that, about 15.3%. How much should I charge? How much should you charge online? Obviously, it depends on your business. If you want a real deep dive into what you should be charging based on your market and your offers and where you're at in your business, that's what we help people with in our core programs, in our coaching. And I would just say that you can probably charge more than you think based off your ability to get people results. So for example, you could charge someone $37 for an ebook, or you could charge someone $5,000 for a program that gets them a more complete transformation. And I know for a lot of PTs, they're like, but that's Like I can't charge someone $5,000 for the health. And I get that. Like maybe you can't right now, or maybe you don't think you can. But I would really challenge you to think, if you were to charge someone $5,000 or $10,000 or $25,000, pick a high number that scares you. What would the ultimate service be that you could provide for them? And a good friend, Josh Forty, challenged Will and I to do this when we paid him for a consulting call. Wasn't cheap, but he asked us that question. It's like, hey, what could you charge $5,000 for? And I was like, oh, like nothing. Our audience, like people can't afford that. And then we started thinking about it. We're like, okay, no, like if we were able to create something for people who are already successful, like maybe I'm thinking about the wrong part of my audience. And so we did. We came up with a $5,000 offer, and it gets people tens of thousands of results. But we can do that because we know that we're working with the right people, solving the right problem in the right way. And so your ability to charge someone is completely based off who you're serving and the problem you're solving and the way you solve it. So if you want to charge more per person, solve a bigger problem. Look at your demographic. There's a lot of PTs that we talked to. In fact, we talked with someone last week who's a very successful business owner. It was really, really interesting. Got on the phone with them, and very successful practice owner, and just laid out like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this in my practice. And it's like, whoa, nobody's doing that. And they were like, yeah, I think I want to put together some online stuff for back pain, and then set up an online business for back pain. And it's like, well, you could do that and charge like, $40 or $97 for an ebook or something. Or what if you helped people in their practice? Because you know how to implement systems, numbers, KPIs, like nobody's business. Why not go after that? Like that's something that you love doing. You're really good at it. You've got the results in it. And you can charge more for it because you'll get people relatively more of an ROI. It's like, oh, I could do that. I think that there are so many of us that sit here thinking small, not thinking about the bigger picture of how we could help people in a larger way. And I would challenge you, for the people who are on here right now, that stuff right now that people are paying others thousands of dollars for. But you're not able to charge that because you don't have a community of people who see you as the expert, or because you just don't see the fact that what you have is valuable enough to be charging that, or you just don't have confidence in yourself. So if you want help with that, you know where to find us. Brian, thanks for coming on, man. Carl, Michael, Tommy, Jacob, thank you for coming on, guys. So how much should you charge? I think that you should look for how can you charge more based on solving a larger problem for people. Because I will tell you, it's actually just as difficult to sell a $5,000 product as it is to sell a $500 product. Because it's just based off the people that you find. It's just based off, are you going to the right people who can afford it, and to the right people who you're solving a big enough problem for, and the ROI is there for them in order to do it. So really interesting. And my thoughts, to be honest, I have gotten more comfortable charging more as I have paid for more expensive things. 2 years ago, there's no way I would have paid for a $10,000 coaching program. Like it was just never in the budget. I get that. But also, like, I would not have done that. It wasn't a thing. It's been really interesting as we've upped our game and we've started to see the value of investing for us. Like when we find the right person who has the right thing for us, and it's like, okay, let's do it. And we know that we can implement it and we're going to take action on it. And it's going to kick our butts into gear to do the thing. It's just really interesting. And so because I did that, now I'm much more comfortable saying, oh, okay, no, yeah, someone would buy a $10,000 thing because I just did. So how could I, like, who would buy a $5,000 thing, and what would I need to offer in order to create that? And then all of a sudden my mindset shifts, and it's not that I get any better at my job and so I'm suddenly able to sell $5,000 things, but it's that I'm confident enough in what I do. It's that I have an offer that can get people the results at a $5,000 level. But more than anything, I'm not projecting my own financial thermometer on someone else. And so the real finances of an online business are that you have to significantly elevate your financial thermometer in order to be successful with it. Because I will tell you, if we hadn't done that, we would still be selling a $100 course that was way too big in the first place for people, we would have probably sold a bunch of them, but we would not be at multi six figures. But because we've gotten comfortable with money, it's still, I'll be honest, it's still uncomfortable. There's still stuff all the time that I'm like, it's still not easy. But because we've gotten more comfortable with it and said, hey, look, we can get people the results. Hey, look, I know because this person, because that person told me that what I gave them was worth far more than what I charged them. Okay, I guess I can charge some more. But don't you dare sit there thinking that because you have a certain financial thermometer level, everyone else does too. Okay. Oh, I got fired up about that. All right. How long before I make money? That's the next question. If you're building an online business, how long before you make money? I'm going to tell you that how long before you make money in the way you think you will, it's going to be longer than you think. But how long before you make money by listening to your audience, that can happen faster than you think. For Will and I, it took 6 months from the time we started our Facebook group and really started our audience together to the time we made our first offer. When we made our first offer, it happened to be so good that 100 people bought it at $100, and we made our first 5 figures. Blew us out of the water. We had no clue to that. So could we have done it earlier? Maybe, but we were also giving lots of value along the way. So I really think from a realistic standpoint, I think it's safe to say you could make money. You should make money in your first 6 months. It may not be like the, hey, I'm quitting my job type of money. But I think if you do it right, and if you follow a lot of the things that we teach people to do, or you work with us directly, I think that by 6 months, like starting from scratch up to 6 months, you should definitely be able to have a beta product that you're taking to market, that you're getting paid for, that people are validating that they like, because they're pulling out their wallets. That's just, can you do it faster? Yeah, and there are a few people who do, but it's rare to be making significant money after just a couple of months of starting to build an online business, because you got to build trust with people. And we can help you do that a lot faster. There are certain ways to do that quicker. A lot of the time based on the content and the messaging, and making sure you're hitting the right people and getting in front of them in the right way, and priming them to buy from you rather than just giving them content. But I think realistically, 6 months is a good time frame to give yourself of like, all right, I'm going to work hard at this for 6 months. This is why it's important to start before the money has to be an issue. To start, like if you have a brick and mortar business, it's a perfect time to, like, once things are rolling with that, start planting the seeds. Because you got to plan on, this is going to be a 6-month venture before I'm really seeing my ROI. If you were on our webinar on Wednesday, we talked about the story of bamboo, how you got to plant bamboo and then water the darn thing for 5 years before it sprouts. But when it does, after 5 years, it shoots up like 80 feet in a few months. And online business is the same way. I would say business in general is, where you have to plant the seeds and nurture them for a time before they'll pop up. But when they do, if you do it right, then the rewards can be significantly faster than if you had tried to harvest from day one. So that's really important. All right. I think we answered all the questions. How much do we pay ourselves? How much do we pay in taxes? How much should you charge? How long before you make money? And what can you write off? I would just say this. Race is about 4 years to beta, man. Oh, in the meantime, Ray, as you're building an audience, this is what I want to close with. There are other things you can do to generate income in the meantime before you come to market with a full product. So I would say generally, for most people, I think within 6 months, you should know enough about your audience to be able to create something for them that you can monetize and serve them at a high level. And this is the last thing, is that you should go into this. If you're going into online business because you want passive income, we're not the guys to learn from, because we don't do it passively. But if you want to create an online business and have massive impact, then that's a different story. And if you want to have a deep impact on people, which is our mission, to like really go in and make life-changing differences in people's businesses and people's lives, that's the business we're in. So if you want passive income, you can go listen to Pat Flynn. He has the Smart Passive Income podcast. It's awesome. Interestingly, you'll note that he has shifted a lot from passive income purely to, like, there's a lot of hands-on stuff with people, because passive income is only fun for so long. And to be honest, I haven't cracked the code on passive income. We've got some passive income in terms of affiliate stuff, but it's not that fulfilling. To be very honest, the passive income is not nearly as fulfilling as you think it will be. And it's going to take a lot more work to set up than you think than you think it does, because you still have to grow an audience either way. And your ability to serve that audience, if you're actively engaged with them versus passively trying to give them something that you don't have to touch them after, I'm just going to tell you, it's a lot more satisfying being active in your business than passive. So Asha, Jeff, thank you guys for jumping on. If you want a recap of everything that Will and I taught on last Wednesday about how to grow an online business and how we're working with people right now, we have a few spots that we're opening up in a mastermind where we're going to be working one-on-one with 10 to 12 business owners who are just starting to create their online business. That means that they're basically not, if you're not consistently profiting from, guys, it's time for date night. My mom's calling to tell me that it's time for date night. She's picking up our kids. We get to go on a date night. Call me a second, Mom. I'm almost done with the live stream. Comment recap below, and I'll send you the recap of that. Guys, this has been Tuesday Night Fever. Thank you so much for coming on. If this was valuable, just say value below or thank you or something so that I know you like this, and we'll keep it up. Until next time, you guys, this has been Alex Sangar for Tuesday Night Fever in Healthcare Digital Marketing. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.